this video, we will learn how to utilize Powershell Logging and Windows Event Collector, and we will also use a group policy to forward event logs from a domain joined workstations to the domain controller. So what we are doing here is we are creating a event collector on a domain controller, and we are assigning a group policy to all the workstations in that domain to forward logs and events to the centralized Windows event collector. So group policy is a good way to centrally manage your computers and user settings across an Active Directory environment. So let's take a scenario. The scenario is your management is concerned about possibility of malicious activity happening on your systems within the company, and you as a Windows admin or an architect, you took this as a perfect opportunity to deploy a central Windows logging with Windows event forwarding service to make sure you know of any suspicious events happening around the domain. So that's the entire scenario. So we currently logged on to the domain controller as an administrator. And what we'll do is right now we will enable the Windows event log collection service on this domain controller. So how you can do it is you can use the command prompt and you can use command Windows event WEC collector, and we are using the util and QC. So what it will do is it will basically enable the Windows event log collection service on this particular domain controller. So it asks you for a delayed start of yes, we do it. And now Windows Event Collector service was successfully configured, but this is not it. We need to create a subscription, which we'll do it right now. Subscription file actually describes or defines which computers should send events to the collector. So coming to Windows, Windows basically supports both source initiated, which is push configuration, and collector initiated, which is pull type of subscriptions. And in our use case of applying a group policy to set of the workstations means that we should use a source initiated so that the workstations send whenever they are online rather than trying to poll them for events, which is likely to be unreliable in this present situation. So what we did is basically we created an subscription.xml file which tells you how much latency, the URI description. It takes the schema from a particular Microsoft available schema, and we are doing a source initiated. So Windows Workstation, when it is available, will send it, but we can also do something called a collector initiated, which will be a pull configuration here. So we are doing it enable true, and we are having a mode which is configuration mode as normal, which is push. Maximum latency we have provided in the 30,000 seconds mark, which is like 5 minutes. And you have other details like what logs it needs to forward and what events it needs to forward and all, and to which service and which domain and all. So this is a subscription.xml file. You have a lot of options. When if you do Google, you will find a lot of subscription.xml files you can modify according to your requirements. So in order to get the XML file into this particular one, into the configuration is basically we can use WEC util command again, and configuration subscription file, and we will give the location of the um, XML file, which is users. We are working on the contact, so admin, desktop, and the subscription file .xml. Probably I need to save it as XML file to use it. So let's quickly do that. Yeah, I think this is okay. So just a minute. So what I did is create the subscription XML file. It doesn't take the text file, so that gives that the configuration mode for subscription is not custom. It's just a warning, so we can ignore this as a result. Now what we did is we took the subscription file. We provided all the details like which events it should collect, what everything. We have entire configuration on what particular events should be forwarded and how they should be collected. Now we enabled it on the event collector. So what happened right now is this domain controller is acting as a log collector. So how do we get this particular configuration onto workstations is by applying the GPO. Now we will look into the GPO concepts. So group policies basically provide you a centralized administration to carry out the custom settings on your environment in your entire domain. So in order to enable a group policy, what you can do is you can go to the Windows administrative tools. There is group policy management. So you'll click on that. You can, on the way, you can initiate this by using gpmc.msc. So group policy management console.msc. That will also open the group policy management console. So this is our forest right now, which is our domain. So under this domain, you will have your, under this forest, you will have your domains. And under the domain, you have one domain, which is contesto.azure. And what we're going to do is basically, we are going to go to the group policy objects. So this is where you will find what are the group policy objects that you have in your domain. So what you can do is click on new. And what we're going to do right now is basically to create a an empty GPO. So we will call it as workstation event collection. We are not giving any source, so this is just a default empty GPO. Now, since we created this GPO, let's do the edit. Now, what we are going to do in this particular group policy is basically to provide a policy in such a way that when this policy is attached to the workstations, workstations should poll their events to the centralized domain controller, on which we enable the Windows event forwarding and the collection service. Now, the first thing we will do is basically configure the subscription target. And in order to do that, we will go to the group policy management editor. This is not the management console. This is the editor for the group policy, which is called as workstation event collection. So we'll go to the administrative templates and we will go to the Windows components. And then we will look for the event forwarding, which is here. And under the event forwarding, we have two different ones. We have configured the target subscription manager. So what we'll do is we'll click on this option. So it's currently not configured under the default setting of the GPO. Now we'll click on enable and you have your subscription managers here. So a subscription manager is nothing but a fully qualified domain name or the IP address. And that's where the event collection service has been enabled, and we can add it on 5985 or 5986, 85 or 86 ports. So when you're using HTTP protocol, you will use 59885, and when you're using HTTPS, you will basically use 5986. So what we're going to do right now is basically we are going to add our endpoint. Just let me copy that. So it's a DC server, dc.domain name 5985, since we are using HTTP, and it's Windows management, Windows service management under the subscription manager. And this is a Windows event collector, and we refresh rate of 60 seconds, which is 1 minute. So what we did right now is we configured the target subscription manager under the GPO. We provided the URL so that when this group policy gets applied to a particular group, so all that machines in that group will forward the event logs every 60 seconds to this particular target URL. So that's done. So we click on apply and click OK. Now we set up the Windows event forwarding service. Let's quickly do it for the PowerShell logging also. So in order to do that, we will go to the, in order to configure Windows PowerShell settings, we have to go to the, again, same panel, computer configuration, and we have to go to policies, same administrative templates, and PowerShell is also Windows component. So we'll go to the Windows components and we have to look for Windows PowerShell, which is here. So Windows PowerShell has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 default settings. So first of all, we will turn on the module logging. So whatever is happening on the PowerShell module, when someone uses a command, it automatically logs in that particular command. So we will provide it for all the modules. There are different modules for PowerShell. So we will log it for all the modules. But you can control it if you want to monitor only particular privilege escalation or something in your Windows environment. You can also do that. So this is done. We click OK. Now what we can do is basically enable the PowerShell script block logging. This one. These are all the PowerShell scripts that you run on your Windows workstations. Those scripts will be logged. And in order to do that, again, just click on enable log block, invocation start and stop events. So it will monitor that. We'll click on apply. So with that, both Windows turn on the module logging and PowerShell script logging is done. There is one more called turn on the PowerShell transcription. This is basically, you can include a location in your on your DC, on a domain controller, and you can log all the transcripts there. So whatever is happening, getting invoked, you can do that, and you can also invoke the invocation headers for that. You click on OK. So we enabled we turned on the PowerShell transcription, we turned on the PowerShell script block logging, and also turn on the module logging. So like this, we can do a lot of settings in group policy. You can control the behavior of your workstation using group policies. And now what we'll do is basically we will assign this group policy to a Windows workstation group. So how you can do that is basically you need to go back to your, let's do one thing, gpmc.msc. So that opens your forest, again, your domains. And if you see the group policy objects, we have our group policy object for workstation event collector, but this is currently not linked to any objects inside our domain. So what we're going to do is click on workstations, link an existing GPO, select the workstation event collection GPO that we selected, and click on OK. So that will get added to that one. So right now the GPO status is enabled. Now what any system, any workstation in this particular domain, in this particular object or in this particular group will automatically send the events and PowerShell logging to this particular DC. That concludes the video. I hope this video is informative. Thank you so much for watching it, and stay tuned for more videos. Until the next video, happy learning. Bye-bye.